We are going to be drawing advanced level spheres. So I've just drawn a line in the middle of the page, and that's going to be about your half page mark. You don't need to draw that line, but you are going to be drawing a circle. So just kind of sketch it out as I'm doing right here. Then you're going to be drawing a line behind it because we're going to be drawing overlapping spheres, but on both sides. So remember, I'm drawing a little arrow right here to show that this is the size that you're going to be drawing. The overlapping circle behind it will be smaller. Okay, so I've erased that line because I just wanted to show you to draw about in the middle of your page. Now I'm going to be drawing a circle on the other side that is a little bit smaller, and also please notice how it's up a little bit higher than this one. So you want your circles to be up a little higher and just a touch smaller than your main circle in front. Now I'm going to draw another circle, but this time I'm going to be drawing it a little bit farther up and a little bit smaller. So I'm going to be doing that on both sides. Notice how it's a little bit up and a little bit smaller. So go ahead and pause here if you need to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some circles even more behind it. These are the middle ones. So remember that you're kind of drawing this simple curved line that peaks from behind. This creates a three-dimensional illusion, even though we haven't even begun to add shadows, shading, or blending. Right now we're simply doing some overlapping. Overlapping is a really awesome tool to understand, but it does require a little bit of practice. So now we're just going to complete the third row with the end sphere is going to be smaller, higher, and behind. Remember that a lot of 3D drawing is repeating in practice. Okay, so we're keeping and practicing, and every circle that we draw is a little bit smaller behind. Now we're going to draw the fourth and fifth rows of the spheres, pushing each row deeper into the picture with size, placement, and overlapping. And look, we haven't even shaded yet, and we already have this 3D picture going on. You could continue forever and ever if you wanted to. You could draw 6 to 7 rows if you'd like. So just go ahead and pause here for a second. Okay, now we're going to be drawing our light source. So remember, we're drawing it pointing down, and then we are going to draw our cast shadows. So if that light is shining down like this, it's going to be darkest right here. So we're going to go ahead and draw cast shadows all along there. So go ahead here and pause if you need to before moving on. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to draw those little nook and cranny shadows. This is a favorite step because it really brings out the visual effect of a 3D art. So the nook and cranny shadows are going to be on all of the sides of where each sphere meets the other sphere. And then we're also going to put them in the little tiny tops, wherever there's those little places where it connects. So continue with this. Have a lot of fun filling in those little nooks and crannies. But I want you to kind of see where I'm putting them. They're And then once you do that, you can go ahead and do it yourself. So go ahead and fill those little nooks and crannies. I'm going to do that also. Okay, so now we've done little nooks and crannies. Now we're going to continue the shading process with a first pass over all of the objects, scribbling in lightly over all the opposite edges away from the light source. So notice how I'm just kind of making one little pass along here, and I'm going to continue to do it on all of my little spheres, thinking, okay, here's the light. It's shining the brightest here, but it's going to be darkest here. You also want to make sure you're showing that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as you gradually go up. But remember, right now we're just doing a first pass. Remember, these are scribble shading passes. So you're going to go ahead and do your first one and then go back and darken the edges farthest away from your light source, scribbling lighter and fainter as you move towards the light source. When you're finished, blend the shading with your finger and smudge the dark shade areas up towards the light, which is the hot spot. You can also, when you're done, you can also erase the excess pencil lines to clean it up if you want to get it to be a little more 3D. You even can do something a little more advanced, which would be to dab your little eraser at the very top of the shading to show that hot spot. So continue shading all the little places. You're going to have shading all along here. I'm going to continue. You can watch as I go and be thinking about where the shading goes. Make sure the shading is gradual. You make a first pass over it, then you go back and you shade so it all blends in. Now we're going to be drawing a bonus. You're going to be drawing this really cool group of spheres all clustered together. It kind of looks like little planets. Okay, go ahead and start with a sphere, and we're going to be drawing some guidelines going through it. Make sure the guidelines are erasable, of course, because you are going to be erasing these, and that they're slightly going up and over. Then you're going to go ahead and position the spheres along these guidelines. Then you're going to add a few more behind the first and draw a little tiny one peeking out. Notice how I'm making use of the guidelines to position the spheres. So you can go ahead and pause here and add some spheres along the guidelines. Okay, now we're going to continue drawing some more spheres all along the side. I'm just going to continue with this narration, and you are welcome to go ahead and pause whenever you need and start again. Also draw a couple little spheres that are escaping the crowd. You can also draw ones that are up top in the sky. Maybe it's your Earth, maybe it's the house, maybe it's a moon. We're also going to be drawing a giant grandma sphere, and then behind it I'm going to be drawing a curved horizon. This is the giant planet that my little creation is on. After that, you can go ahead and draw a light source and think about where that light source is shining its light. The next step is the nook and cranny step, and this is going to take a little bit of thinking. You're going to want to keep darting your eye between the light position and the objects you're shading. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we get in our cast shadow. So again, think about this line coming down here and where you would have the shadows. So you're also going to have little nook and cranny shadows here on the ground. Here you'll have them on your objects that are on the outside. So just be thinking about the direction that this light is shining on. You might have like a little bit of shading there. So go ahead and pause here and get all those little nook and cranny shadows in. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up those little nook and cranny shadows, and then we're going to go ahead and do our first shading pass. So the first shading pass, our pencil's going to fly over the spheres, lightly shading the large areas opposite of the light source. So we're going to be getting in light shading on all of these little parts where the light is opposite. Don't worry about blending yet, just lay down a base layer. So go ahead and go through all of your spheres and do the base layer. Okay. After you're done with that, make several more shading passes over the spheres. Really work in those dark edges, the dark nook and crannies, and the dark spaces on the ground between the spheres and the cast shadow. So you really want to get in dark right here too, and really make sure you show a difference of those shading lines. Work the blending up slowly towards the light. So as you get towards the light, when you're making your second passes, work your way up slowly towards the light. You're going to want to get all of your little spheres where there is shading in all of those. Make sure you have a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 where it starts out really dark and then it gets lighter and lighter as you get up towards the light source. So continue to shade all of your spheres now. Okay, so now that we're done with our creation, we're going to go ahead and push that aside, and I'm going to show you a couple more fun little ways to draw holes in your spheres. So we're going to draw a couple spheres. So just wherever you can find on your paper to find some room, we're going to draw some holes, and then after that, I'll show you a couple ideas in the book of what you can do with these sphere ideas. So if the window is on the right, the thickness is going to be on the right. If the window is on the left, the thickness is on the left. So we're gonna go ahead and add our little thickness rule right here. Or I'm gonna tell you the thickness rule, and then I'll draw a couple examples for you. So right here, the thickness is on the right. So if the hole is on the right, the hole's on the right, the thickness is on the right. So you can kind of see how I did that there. You're gonna do your shading, going through one pass lightly, and then going through again with a darker pass, making sure it's gradual. 4, 3, 2, 1. You see how it's like, okay, now we're gonna go ahead and okay, so now we're gonna make another one, and this time we're gonna put the hole on the left. So we're gonna put the hole right on this side. Whoops. Right here. So if the hole's on this side, then the thickness is going to be right on this side. So if the hole's on the left, the thickness is on the left. I'll just keep saying that. So go ahead and draw another one. Complete the shading. You're gonna make this really dark inside because that is really dark because there's a hole in there. And again, be thinking about where your light is and where your cast shadow will be. Okay, now we're gonna do one last one, and we're gonna put the hole on the top. So remember now, if the hole's on the top, the thickness is on the top. This is an easy way to draw windows, doors, cracks, and openings. So again, the thickness is gonna be right there on the top. And again, mine's messy. You can make yours a little nicer and neater if you want, and go back and try some different ideas. Go ahead and do the cast shadow and the shading. So have some fun with this. Here is some ways that you can add in your little holes and things coming out of it. Just have a little bit of fun with that. Also, the author of this book had some fun drawing with some of the other things that I taught you. I'll show you the picture right now. You can see that he drew some little alien creatures in there. He just started drawing a whole bunch of these spheres, then layered them on top of each other, started drawing some holes, and then he just got creative with it. He ended up, it says he started drawing a stack of spheres and ended up with an urban olive condo complex. You never know where your imagination and pencil will go. So this is a urban olive condo complex with little friends inside. So have fun, think why not, and just have some fun with it and create some different things and come up with your own creations. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will be back next week with another lesson.